and those people are all okay. As if they did some house-to-house survey, which of course they didn't do. But that's not how we handle air crashes. We don't say, oh, millions of passengers are fine. Don't worry about those 400 who are dead in that plane crash. What do? We get the black boxes. We reassemble the plane. We reconstruct what happened. And, they're extensively studied. If we used for plane crashes, my point is the millions don't matter. The few matter. Meaning the ones who suffer. That's where you want to be doing your research, not the millions who didn't have any problem. And imagine that we took the same approach that pharma takes when we have a jetliner crash. Pharma would say, let's say a flight from New York to London goes down in the Atlantic 20 minutes before reaching Heathrow Airport, right? Pharma would say the flight was 95% effective, right? Or they would say, hey, at least you're better off. We got those passengers closer to London. In other words, they literally put death out of the equation and focus just on this, the numbers. And I don't care about the numbers. I care about the people who are harmed, the individuals who are harmed.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah,
but they generally do is they will say it saves more lives than it costs, and that what happens is on a few very rare cases, very rare individuals, there's some sort of a reaction, and those people die from that medication. Yep. But this is normal for any kind of medication that is mass prescribed. Yep. This is what they would use as an argument, and they would say that far more people, like COVID vaccine, were helped, or measles, mumps, and rubella, whatever it is, were helped by that than were hurt.
Yeah. So if you're really going to assess a product, like no parent would let a stranger walk up to their baby on the street and inject them with something they don't know what's in it, right? And yet millions of parents do that every year in America by going to Long's or to Walgreens and getting a vaccine. They don't know what's in it,
right.
And they don't know about that 23-year-old pharmacist assistant who's measuring it out and giving it to you, and they don't ask questions like, did your baby have an adverse reaction to this a week ago, or what have you. But I want to go right to your question, which is the assessment that we would have to do for anything, forget vaccines, for any kind of drug, is what's the likelihood of getting, in the case of vaccines, you have to say, what's the likelihood of getting the disease? What's the likelihood of having a terrible consequence from the disease? And does the vaccine work? And does the vaccine have any harm for anybody, right? Well, I just want to talk about a couple of these. Tetanus vaccine. In the United States, the number of people who died from tetanus in a decade is 13. 13 human beings, all old, by the way. The number of people who got tetanus in a decade, 154. My point on tetanus is that all over the world, there's a map in this book, all over the world, the tetanus, how do you get tetanus, first of all? It's not transmissible, as you may know. Everybody thinks you get it from a deep puncture wound with a rusty nail or what have you. Rust does not give you tetanus. It is a bacteria called the tetanus bacteria. And you got to find it, first of all. And you take an army to find it in the United States, by the way. You won't find a doctor who's ever had a patient with tetanus in the United States. All over the world, it is fewer than 1 in a million people. In the United States, in all of Central America and South America, all 22 countries, you can't find it. Fewer than 1 in 100,000 people getting tetanus. I'm not talking about death. In Russia, 1 death in 2022. In all of Europe, a few deaths. In the Congo, a lot. So this is one of those things that you have to ask, what's the likelihood of risk? And you have to say, does it work? And does it work without any side effects? Well, here's the reality. If I get a serious injury, deep puncture wound, right, and I go to the hospital, they clean it, and I'm done right there. Cleaning it is the end of it. But let's say they failed to clean it well. They always offer you a tetanus vaccine anyway, right there, even if you had one a year ago. There's never a circumstance where they don't try to get you to take a tetanus vaccine. So tetanus is the beautiful vaccine you can take at the time of the injury. You don't have to take it prophylactically. 5 injections to little babies. Little babies. You don't have to do that. So each one of these vaccines, each one of these is a different product.